Good morning, and welcome to the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I am Karen Griglack, and I am your service associate today, and we are grateful to have the Reverend Jaylyn Scott as our guest. Before transition, Jaylyn worked at our fellowship as the first Spirit Jam staff person under our former religious education educator, Katie Covey, and from 2012 to 2014. She is now the Executive Director of the Lavender Rights Project and founding member of Black Trans Task Force, both in Seattle, Washington. Lavender Rights Project provides direct legal services and advocacy for LGBTQ+ persons. And the Washington Black Trans Task Force looks at the problem of violence against Black trans people in the U.S. We have Tad offering piano music and Emily Jaworski leading our hymns today. And of course, the people who do the technical magic that makes this all happen, Mary Stackpole, Eric Williams, and Deborah Mensch. As I say our welcome words today, I want to invite you to shift into gallery view, if you haven't already done so, and scroll through the screens so that you can experience the lovely diversity of this congregation, turning it in from a variety of locations, adding up to a fellowship that means a lot to all of us, especially in these troubled times. You are all welcome here today, in all of the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes, and sizes that come together in your uniqueness. You are welcome here. In all of the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all of the ways that you make your living and the places you are from, you are welcome here. Unitarian Universalist, Christian, pagan, Jew, humanist, Buddhist, mystic, Muslim, with all of the traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here today. No matter how long you are away, nor how soon you will return, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you are welcome here. You are invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. We welcome you here today. I have a few announcements. You are all warmly invited to attend the Zoom ordination of A.J. Van Tyne, our former intern minister. Since the ordination will be over Zoom, this means many more of us can join him in celebration. So please mark your calendars for Saturday, August 29th at noon. More details will follow in the coming weeks. We have Reverend Lydia with us today to share a pastoral announcement. She is on study leave until August 10th, but is still available by text or phone call for any pastoral care. And our final announcement for the morning is that following today's service, you have the option to stay in the Zoom room for our coffee hour or join in the School of the Spirit coffee hour that you'll see in the chat now and also at the end of the service. If you're new here, we're really glad that you came, and we hope that even on Zoom, you can still experience some of the warmth and love of this fellowship. Each Sunday is different here, so please come back a few times to really get to know us. Please see the chat window for the link to our first-time visitors page. That page has a link to our visitor info form, which invites you to tell us about yourself and request information about our activities. Or you can email your contact information to our office manager, Carol, at officemanager@bvuuf.org. Carol's address is in the chat window as well. And check out our fellowship calendar and Connections Weekly, which lists many opportunities to stay connected. Finally, if you're new to us, we invite you to introduce yourself into the chat. We'd love to know who is among us. Now, if you have a chalice at home, or even if you don't have a chalice, you can light your thumb. You can light yours with me as I light my home chalice. So we know where all our chalices are. Please write in the chat, chalice lit in name of your town. Please say the words along with me as I light our chalice. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. And now, take a moment to settle, take a deep breath, and now I'll sing the bowl again and allow its sound to draw you deeper into this present moment and to this, our beloved community. Our opening words this morning come from Scarlett DiGiacomo, titled River One in G minor. A bridge is made of a fallen fir tree, connecting two clay-covered shores. We stand above water which runs down from the mountaintop, and the sound of its rushing hums the same note, the song of the valley. Since the beginning and on, it will sing forevermore. Once I was a piece of my mother, driftwood caught in the riverbed, rocked by the ripple of her baptism and merganser wake cutting the surface of the water. My father is a river stone, colored brick red, and eroded by the flow of time passing over him. And now we will have a meditation by Jaylin.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. I want to, on the screen, you'll see the names of Black trans people murdered this year so far in 2020. As these names go across the screen, you'll have an imagination of who they are. Think about what they loved. Think about what they offered us. And if you'll do this practice, this is a practice that I've taken on because the constant news of the assault on Black people in this country, particularly Black trans folk and Black trans femmes, is too much to bear. But yet we have to look. So I ask that you just take a moment and feel brightness and freedom, privilege, safety inside of you. Really get a good sense of it hugging you. Breathe deeply into it. Just feel safety covering you and your body. You've made it all of these years, far longer than the majority of these people. You're protected, you're safe. This is a safe space. Now, all of that safety and joy and freedom, I'd like for you to just breathe out. Imagine one of these people on the screen. You could choose a name and offer that love and caring to them. Take in the suffering of this. You can do it. You're strong. You have relative safety in your life if you do. You have beauty inside you. You can take it for them. Go ahead and breathe in a little bit of their suffering. Transform it in your heart with all the brightness, beauty, privilege, love, and care that you have. Breathe out care, safety, love to these people and the larger Black trans community. Just do that quietly for a moment. Now, just imagine that they are looking at you and smiling and happy that you thought about them and that you remembered them and that you will remember all of their siblings that are still here and in danger. And so let's just blanket the entire world, all Black folk in it, all of us, blanket them in safety and love, bright energy, protection, appreciation. You got enough of it to give it out. Just give it. Ashe, Ashe, blessed be. Amen.
And now, from this place of quiet, I invite us into our time of community connection, our time of sacred sharing. Deborah will remind you of how to let us know that you'd like to share. And when you do, whether by voice or by chat, tell us your name, the pronouns you use, and where you live, and briefly let us know what is in your heart today, and I will place a stone in the water on your behalf. I will add one last stone for any joys or concerns that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, knowing that we are bound together in this community and in the web of life. Today, for all those things that lift you up, or for all of those things that weigh heavy on your hearts and on your minds, whether they were spoken, unspoken, or just feelings that never had words, I offer you a blessing. Deep within the still center of my being, may I find peace. Silently within the quiet of the grove, may I share peace. Gently and powerfully within the greater circle of humankind, may I radiate peace. Blessed be.
Blessed be. I am very aware that just listening to the joys and concerns, the meditation, this present moment, the politics of this moment, the pandemic, that this is a deep moment of sorrow, maybe some possibility, and understanding that we're entering into another hard topic. I just want you to care for your heart. It's good to be with you again. I was last here in 2014. I miss all of you. I miss Colorado. I love the water and the trees here, so I don't think I'm leaving, but just the beauty of that place. And BVUUF was my first Unitarian congregation, like really being engaged in and involved in, and I fell in love with you. I was overjoyed to be Katie Covey's lab rat for a School of the Spirit. She built something fantastic and really engaged with me and taught me so much about religious education. Many things have changed with me. You know, you have a new building with you and the congregation. Some of us grow older. There are new people that enter. How comforting it is to be present with you here and now in these difficult times. In your self-care today and always, remember that there are always those of us who don't have a choice but to look, to fear, to be triggered over and over and over again. It doesn't mean I want you to be traumatized, but thinking of the meditation earlier, it might be a good exercise of finding your safety and beauty and exchanging it for others, a new way to engage suffering that doesn't overwhelm you. Relate to the pain, transform it in your heart, and just send it out to the community in prayer. You can do this at any time and at all times. However, when you're done praying, get up, take some action. And it doesn't matter how you do that. You may do it in a chair, online. You may do it in your community, among your family, in the streets, however that works for you. Take action. Black trans people are the conjurers of social change. We are the creators of art and keepers of the community. To conjure is to create outside of the constructs of settler colonialism, white supremacy, and capitalism. It is a deep knowing and creation that communes with the numinous. It communes with the love holding all. This creativity of Black trans people through conjuring is inherently wise, it's reasonable, and it's transformative. Paradoxically, Black trans women are both the creators of some of the world's most profound beauty, and also those who are more at risk of having their beauty destroyed through violence. A queering, as you will, or deconstruction of the sixth source of Unitarian Universalism, the transcending mystery and wonder, reveals not only the wonder of creation, but the vulnerability and destruction that plagues those who are the creators. Let's hold this paradox together and today. It is nice to think of the comforting qualities of that sixth source, but to hold darkness and light together is a sign of spiritual maturity. Shannon Collins, in a fascinating article in Medium, entitled, I love this title, "The Splendor of Gender Nonconformity in Africa." They explore the gender binary and its brief history on the continent of Africa. Before the implementation of rigid European binaries, male, female, gender diversity was far more acceptable and accepted and celebrated in Africa. Malidoma Some is quoted in their article as saying that for the Dagara, his people, gender was not, and really still is not, dependent on anatomy, but is energetic. Gender was determined by how someone expressed their own spirit, their own sources of knowing. Black, trans, and gender diverse people were held sacredly and with honor in many African societies, especially traditions including the Lugbar people of what is now called the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. We were not minimized to drag queen entertainment, as we so often are now, entertainment for cisgender people, or on the other end, just objects of pity. Not pity, not entertaining, we were the priests and shamans who held the sacred African and ancestral spirituality of the community. We were trusted to hold such a great treasure as the heart of a people's culture, their spirituality. We were diviners there on the continent, in southern Angola, in much of Middle Africa. But something happened, something terrible occurred that transformed this open, gender diverse society. Something awful wiped out the knowledge that gender diverse peoples are the creators of culture, holders of the sacred, and leaders of society. That something was white supremacy. The Okule, they're male to female trans people, and Agule, female to male trans people in the Lugbara tradition, held sources of faith and spirituality that are now wiped out. Were wiped out with one single European, white, misogynist, male idea. In white supremacy, in colonialism, there were two genders. And any diversion from this so-called fact needed to be rooted out with violence. Now, in our times, we still see the fruits of the creation of Black trans people, from drag to electronic music, which is very popular in pop music now, in fashion, in popular language trends. Have you ever heard someone say throwing shade? That's all of our stuff. That's our technology. We created culture. Culture is that most impactful set of histories and forces that create what we understand as the world around us. With culture creation comes political power, and white supremacy is well aware of this fact. White supremacy does not concede power, but takes control through exploitation and domination. Now, when we create as Black trans people, we often do it because of survival. We need to eat. We need a place to live. Long gone are the days of holding the faith of a society, of a community. Lost is the trust that the world once held for us. Lost are the new inventions we would have created to protect our community, our environment. We've now beaten and worn. use whatever remaining tools of survival we have to feed ourselves and yet to disrupt oppression. I'm thinking of Mother Marsha P. Johnson and her words. If you aren't familiar with Mother Marsha, she's a Black trans matriarch of LGBTQ pride. She, by many, is understood to be one of the major forces with Sylvia Rivera, who started Pride. Mother Marsha performed drag. She became known in the community, especially in the Stonewall clubs in the area, in the Stonewall Club. She used her platform to organize and pour the gasoline on the resistance of the Stonewall movement and continued this work until her own death. She was, as well as others, rejected in the end by the white queer community, who claimed pride for themselves, erased her history, and excluded Black trans people systematically from even the gay community. You'll hear a theme in this sermon. Mother Marsha was quoted as saying, "I was nobody from Nowheresville until I became a drag queen." Black trans people find the few doors that have remained open to us to take care of our basic needs first. But that drag that she did was also an act of resistance. We disrupt. Disruptions in music, dance, with Vogue. All of these are technologies of liberation from oppression. Even now, power, and its current alias, white supremacy, steals what it can from us for its own benefit and continues to destroy us. It disappears our bodies and it kills our spirits. This past week, we learned of the 8th Black trans murder this year in the last Black trans woman murdered in the last 2 months. The 29th trans person murdered this year. Just so you know, last year there were 27 in 2019. We're at 29, and it's what? August. The woman murdered was Asia Raquel Ron Spears. Asia, say her name. There's so many other Jane and John Does we know of, we hear reports of, in morgues throughout the country who are either misgendered or not identified and reported. And of course, there's no justice served for Asia or any of these Black trans people. There's a promise by our penal system and system of justice, if they get involved, it's just gonna make matters worse. With the size of our community, let's not make any mistakes that this is an epidemic. It is a genocide of Black trans people. I think about Asia. I dream about her. I didn't know her. However, I know that she, like I, discovered at some point in her life that there was profound beauty that was unrecognized and undiscovered inside of her. She, like I, she did this earlier than I, made a courageous decision to live her life fully as she was, as she wanted to be, a Black trans woman. She had her own dreams. She probably fell in love like I am in love now. She longed for the touch of her partner's kiss on the nape of her neck. She likely had a creative spirit. She had some creative work, some baby that she wanted to offer the world. I am sure that she was as profound as the Black trans women ancestors that preceded us thousands of years in the motherland. This is not new. She daydreamed, I'm sure of it, daydreamed about her creation, her gift, and how that would change the world. I imagine she hoped for care and acceptance. I know she received some, but I know she received pain and rejection. Asia, I know she loved her community. Asia was killed in Portland, Oregon at a rally, a memorial for a fellow community member. She had also recently posted concerns about the death of T.T. Gully, who was another Black trans woman killed nearly a year ago to the date in Portland. At a rally for Black trans life, she was human. She probably irritated some people, like I do, just ask my fiance. I can be really annoying. She likely had a wonderful sense of humor, like most Black trans people I know. She was our spiritual auntie, our creator, our shaman, and that fact of her power makes her loss so much more devastating to us. The work, the gift that she was to bring to our community was taken from us, ripped from us. Power, exploitation, transphobia, white supremacy is anti-creation. It has to be the only player in the room. It destroys beauty and its minions. We know that it's minions. We see its minions in politics these days. They will not stop without intervention from us. I think about what is fueling this mass murder of my sisters. We have to think a little bigger. We have to think about the intersection of racism, class, misogynoir, which is misogyny against Black women, and transphobia, this deadly mix. First, class, that economic body of conflict that Marx and others taught us as sort of the fabric of culture creation. It is where cultural creation is made, it's the matrix of it. So often when we talk about race in our communities, in our congregations, our circles, we reduce the conversation to some sort of self-help spiritual exercise. Doing deep contemplative exercises to examine white fragility will not bring about deep and lasting change for Black trans people. With the current self-help style race author gurus misses a couple hundred years of scholarship, speeches and sermons by Black folk like Angela Davis, Black people like Bell Hooks, the Combahee River Collective, Stuart Hall, Du Bois Fanon, who collectively have a thorough analysis of the social construction of racism that scientifically leads us to class. It teaches us about history and exploitation. It's larger than you. It's larger than white fragility. We are getting a little too comfortable reading about racism in communities devoid of Black people and Black trans people. Listen, I know that there's some genuine concern, but if we are in our castles in the suburbs, there's no distribution of resources and access and safety, what are we really doing? Donations to the community, thinking about your own privilege, that's okay. But structural change, and new economies of liberation are far more lasting and freeing. I love Stuart Hall, cultural studies scholar. He stated about race as an almost subcategory of class. And he says that race is the modality, the means by which class is lived, by which class is played out. Ruth Gilmore, another cultural studies scholar, in her study of this thought by Hall, that race is the technology of class, reveals the contradictory ways in which identities fracture and form in the crucible of state and society, public and private, home and work, violence and consent. She says, if race is the modality through which class is lived, not voluntarily, then the official codes, habits, institutions, military, police, immigration officers who maintain order have a lot to do with the production and reproduction of the ways of being in the world that we see today. In this current revolution, in this insurrection, I call it, as my friend and disability rights activist has taught me, this moment of revolution of Black Lives Matter, we're being confronted with a demand to dismantle the way that class privilege itself is served and protected in laws, habits, military power, and yes, the police. That's why no matter how much we yell Black Lives Matter, Black trans lives matter, it will not help if it isn't followed up with a rethinking and a dismantling of the impact of economic oppression's power to shape and enslave Black trans people. I want to extend this thought finally to transphobia. Racist transphobia is also a modality, a technology of class and race. These factors, these operators of exploitation form a deadly mix of production and reproduction, of creation of a life of oppression. Maybe not even production. It is counterproductive. It is anti-creative. The way that our institutions, laws, economic systems are constructed inhibits creativity, restricts positive production. It is antithetical to all that we believe as liberal religious folks. It is recalcitrant. It is a Goliath of evil. Classist, white supremacist, transphobia alienates and exploits those that create, the creators. And in its place is institutional and state-sponsored violence, at the very least state-sanctioned. There is something peculiar, very peculiar about power. It hates beauty. It despises mystery. It hates the non-binary. We know this. We've seen it in chattel slavery in the US, settler colonialism, the mass murder of native people in this land, the use of its people for entertainment, cheap spirituality, and the discarding of everything beautiful they created. It's an end to creation. What do? Mother Marcia reminded us that history, quote, history isn't something you look back at and say it was inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive and of the moment. But those moments are cumulative realities. It is time we make conscious decisions, decisions that are not intuitive, but informed, and that are, intuitive, not impulsive and informed. That we developed waves of being that are born from the sources of wisdom of Black trans folk, and not just the histories of white men and their weapons of destruction. We can, y'all, we can return to the wisdom of the Okule and Agule, those trans ancestors, as well as all of those in the non-binary and in between. How? Let's recognize and incorporate the most marginal of our identities when we think about the survival of this earth. A transgender, a Black transgender-centered intersectional analysis of our lives, our activism, our being in the world is needed. You can learn from Black trans people to think outside of the binary, to stretch your mind beyond what is considered normal, what has served you, but not the rest of the world. Normal is a function of institutional self-protection. We should understand that when we say Black lives matter, Black trans lives are the most vulnerable and matter just as much, maybe even more in this moment. We need our creators. Intersectional thinking, the stuff that I'm talking about, how we shift, how we are in the world, ask us a favor, a life commitment, whatever your age or background, to center Black trans women in femmes in all things. We need our creators. Return again and again to the source of wisdom, which is typically held in the space of the most marginalized of society. We need our Okule and Agule. We need our creators. Angela Davis says, if we want to develop an intersectional perspective, the trans community is showing us the way. And we can't only point to, and we need to point to yet, the cases of the murder of Tony McDade, for example. Davis says, but we need to go beyond that and recognize that we support the trans community precisely because this community has taught us how to challenge that which is totally accepted as normal. Beloveds, we need our Black trans creators in this moment, in this revolution. Amen.
Amen. So in honor of one small statement Jalen made. Each week, we remind ourselves of the abundance of our lives and this community by giving half of our offering plate away to those organizations that share our values. Today, our half plate, which is nominated by Jalen, will be going to the Black Trans Task Force of Lavender Rights Project. The Black Trans Task Force are 6 Black trans women and femmes working to end the violence against Black trans women. They provide direct services to Black trans people who are struggling and the resources for a healthy life. The group works to change policy to address the problem of violence against Black trans women, and their current project is a transitional safe housing facility for Black trans women and femmes. Please give generously so that others may receive the care that they need and experience hope. During the offering, you may also use this time to answer this question in the chat. How might you, your faith, and your community answer the call to end violence against Black trans women? For the work of the Fellowship and the work of the Black Trans Task Force of Lavender Rights Project, we offer our gratitude and these gifts.
And now we sing. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
I want to invite you all to join me in saying our words to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.
This was a intense hour, and so let us move into a space of love. Maybe not think too much about what we discussed right now. We can return to it. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your tears. Thank you for your care. Even as you're suffering, some of you in many of your lives and dealing with your own struggle, for showing up, that matters so much, and it touches my heart. There's a song that I think I used to sing it the times I spoke at BVUUF and in the Baptist church that I grew up in, and it's done at every benediction. So I'm gonna try to sing it. It's weird because no one else is singing with me. If someone wants to join in, they're welcome to. It might be odd. But it's love be with you. Love be with you. Love be with you till we meet again. Sing it with me. Love be with you. Love be with you. Love be with you till we meet again. Thank you.